There we go. Thank you, Lisa. So just some quick introductions for our speakers tonight. So my name is Moses Albanese. I am the Energy Programs Coordinator at Green Venture. Green Venture is a not-for-profit Natural Resources Canada licensed service organization with NRCan registered energy advisors that conduct home energy evaluations. And we're currently working with, as we all are, with the Home Efficiency Rebate Plus programs and phasing out those other programs that you might have seen in the past, which we will also talk about. One of our core mandates is to help Hamiltonians and surrounding communities make their day-to-day lives greener to reduce emissions, which directly aligns with our energy program. And for over 20 years, we've been conducting home energy evaluations that help existing homes to increase energy efficiency, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and to live more comfortably in your home. And I will go ahead and hand it off to Lisa.
Thanks, Moses. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lisa Trong. Hi, Trudy. I am the Energy Programs Manager at Reep Green Solutions. We are an environmental charity that has been helping people live sustainably for over 20 years now as well in Waterloo Region. In our programs, we focus on home energy efficiency, healthy yards, water conservation, and waste reduction. And I'll turn it over to Kyle.
Hey everyone, it's glad to see so many of you. My name's Kyle Meny. I'm the Director of Operations at Windfall Ecology Center. We're a nonprofit social enterprise dedicated to building sustainable communities. So we work with homeowners, businesses, policymakers, and more to research, design, and deliver innovative climate change solutions. We've also been delivering EnerGuide home energy evaluations for over 20 years and service the Greater Toronto area. Back to you, Moses.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle and Lisa. So for a little bit of context before we dive in, as you may know, in 2015, 196 countries signed a legally binding international treaty on climate change and committed to net zero emissions by the year 2050. And so when we say net zero, we really mean that we produce as much energy as we use, specifically referring to houses. So if I had a net zero home, that means I generate electricity at the same rate that I use it. This could be through things like solar panels, but also lowering emissions reductions through sequestration or carbon credit purchases, for example. And as you can see here, in the GTHA, buildings do make up the largest chunk of emissions, which is primarily used for natural gas, for space heating and water heating. I will say this graph doesn't account for embodied emissions, such as in agriculture, for example. But in response to some of these numbers, municipalities have developed different community energy and emissions plans to show a path forward towards net zero emissions by 2050. And these plans generally address citywide energy use from home energy to transportation, buildings, waste, and more. And so the reason we're all here today, the Home Efficiency Rebate Plus program that we'll be talking about today. And this is just a general outline that we have here. I'll start us off by talking about structuring retrofits, what that really means, what you should be sort of looking out for initially when you are setting yourself on a path towards reducing your home emissions. And then we'll dive into all things Home Efficiency Rebate Plus, and hopefully answer some questions in between there as well. And then we will talk a little bit about home energy evaluations, what that looks like, what that means. And then again, we'll have a Q&A at the end as well. So I wanted to include this slide as well, the why now slide. I think that we all are aware of the increasing prices of natural gas. These prices are just going to keep increasing, and that means our energy bills are going to be increasing as well. We are now working with programs for I think the first time ever where gas equipment rebates are completely gone, so no more rebates or grants for natural gas furnaces or boilers, hot water heaters, that sort of thing. And of course, we're doing this, to fight or to do our part to fight against climate change, but we're also trying to help homeowners make their home more comfortable, and get a little piece of understanding what it means, what energy usage generally means in your home as well. So the Home Efficiency Rebate has a rebate of up to $10,000 for the retrofits or renovations themselves, an additional $600 for audit costs. And these are the highest rebates that we've ever seen as well. And these are the best incentives for things like heat pumps, which completely replace your furnace and air conditioning and run on electricity, which has much less reduced emissions. And so now we're seeing a merge of the old Greener Homes grant with the old Enbridge Home Efficiency Rebate Program now being co-delivered by both entities. I think Enbridge, if you ask me, sees the writing on the wall, so to speak. They understand that we are beginning an energy transition. People do want to see lower emissions coming from their home and really want to learn about ways to, reduce these emissions, not only for themselves, but for, future generations, comfort of their home, their wallets, all that sort of thing at the end of the day. And so now we move on to the hierarchy of retrofits. I sort of created this graph or this pyramid based on an article by Tree Hugger. And it really shows, the steps that you can take as an initial, step to become more energy efficient in your home. I think the first one starts with recognizing, evaluating, assessing, and that obviously means to get a home energy assessment. These EnerGuide assessments will show you exactly where the trouble areas are in your home and what you can do to stop losing this energy or stop these energy leakages. And the EnerGuide home rating system evaluation system was designed by Natural Resources Canada to help home and property owners make their homes more energy efficient and reduce the burden of these high energy costs. Next on our list, we have the low cost or lifestyle sort of items that you can do. So, obviously your energy choices add up, remembering to turn things off, adjusting temperature settings, keeping your plug load top of mind is super important. Initial steps could be adding LED light bulbs, using power bars with timers, using clotheslines, installing different shower heads and aerators. All those sorts of things fall under this category. We then move to air sealing and insulation, a little bit on the DIY side, but of course with insulation, it can get a little tricky sometimes. So on average, 20 to 30% of energy can be lost through air leakage. Air sealing cracks and crevices inside the home is a necessary step before insulation to make sure that insulation is doing its job and to keep that home airtight. And typically where we see, of course, insulation to be increased in attics, exterior walls, foundations. So those are usually the biggest culprits for energy leakage. And always when you're doing insulation jobs, ask your insulators if air sealing is coming with their service. If not, maybe you can pay for that, or you can do it yourself. It's a super important component there. Then we move on to more, I want to say complicated. Window terminology, even for me, can be very confusing. So, you can take steps in terms of buying window inserts, which are acrylic windows that fit inside your existing windows. You can do a retrofit window replacement, which involves only removing the window sash to improve energy efficiency. Something that, it was enlightening for me even that windows act as that outer wall, right? They have to be water shedding, water resistant, they're an air barrier, they're a vapor barrier, and are insulating for heat loss and heat gain. So we highly encourage you to speak with first your energy advisor, but also different window contractors that will be able to help you with the options that you have and examine your current situation. We then move into fuel switching, a little bit of a larger investment. There is different calculations that you can see in terms of payback period for energy costs every month. So once you've completed the retrofits that I just spoke about, you can begin the journey of getting off gas and not continue using these inefficient fuel sources. Can make a significant difference in carbon emissions and will likely cost you less in the long run. So by making these incremental retrofits to the house, you can get a smaller heat pump because the building envelope is secure and the heat can stay in the home essentially, which obviously would cost you a little bit less. And a typical retrofit that we've seen pair well with this is a drain water heat recovery system as well. We then move into solar installation and solar panel systems and storage. So if your property gets sun between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And you can receive the right permits to install the solar panels, this is likely a worthwhile investment. You are also able to have a hybrid solar system with batteries that can allow you to power your home even when the grid is down. So there's no need for a backup generator there as well. And then finally, the last thing I'll touch on here is something called the Passive House Standard. So this aims to build or retrofit houses that consume up to 90% less heating and cooling than conventional buildings. So by using the latest technology, this energy efficient building standard not only allows for savings on energy, but also increases comfort, health, fresh air circulation, versatility, and sustainability. And some quick aspects of these retrofits are insulating the exterior walls, creating a sealed layer around the house as an air barrier, preventing heat from escaping, so controlling that airflow, lessening thermal bridging, and using a heat recovery ventilation system as well, for example. And what I find fascinating about these houses are that these houses can even use things like body heat, solar heat, heat from your television to keep the house warm because they are so efficient. And so now the Home Efficiency Rebate Plus rebate here that we are working with. So the types of rebates do matter on the home that you have versus whether it's a rental property versus a property that you own versus your primary residence versus a cottage. So we'll get into some of those details and highly recommend either posing your questions here, connecting with us after, or checking the Home Efficiency Rebate Plus website to make sure that you understand exactly your rebates amounts. So, with the unquestionable rising cost of natural gas, electricity is proving to be the most efficient and most affordable energy source moving forward. And due to the high efficiency of heat pump technology in recent years, these heat pumps are 250 to 500 times more efficient than the existing technology. The HER Plus program will, like I said earlier, not offer incentives for natural gas powered mechanical systems, but instead offer these air source heat pumps and ground source heat pump rebates as well. And so if you're a homeowner that already applied for the Greener Homes Grant or the Home Efficiency Rebate program in the past, you'll have the option to shift into this new HER Plus program. We can do that while we're on site, or we can do that when we do your second retrofit assessment. And participants in the Greener Homes or Enbridge Home Efficiency Rebate that would prefer to stay in the old programs can definitely do that as well. For example, if you're looking for a rebate for your furnace or a furnace replacement, you'll have until April 30th of this year to complete your follow-up assessment in order to receive those rebates. If not, you will be transferred into this new program as well. And then we can get into some dates a little bit later, but I'll throw it over to Lisa for this next slide.
Thanks, Moses. So here are the 5 steps to get started in receiving your rebate. So the first step is to call and schedule an initial home energy assessment with a licensed service organization. Most licensed service organizations has an online application or a number for you to call. So during an evaluation, a Natural Resource Canada approved registered energy advisor will examine your house from basement to attic to assess its building use and building envelope. Please note, any renovation started before an initial assessment you will not be eligible for the rebate. And the second step is after an initial home energy assessment, your registered energy advisor or the licensed service organization will provide a custom report that contains recommendations of upgrades to help you understand and improve your energy performance of your home. And then the third step is to complete at least one eligible upgrade to receive the available rebates. For resilient measures or smart thermostat measures, you must complete another measure beyond those. So rebate levels vary based on eligibility criteria, but Kyle will dive a little bit deeper in the next few slides. Yeah, and then the fourth step is to, go back, sorry. Yep, and the fourth step is to schedule a follow-up home energy assessment, which means booking your registered energy advisor to come back to your home. And the last step is receiving your rebate check. You must provide copies of invoices, proof of address, property taxes to your advisor, and it roughly takes 16 weeks to get your rebate check based on when your registered energy advisor submit the file to Natural Resource Canada. And then next slide. So as Moses mentioned, making your home comfortable and affordable is for all, regardless if you are an Enbridge gas customer or a non-Enbridge gas customer. There are rebates available for all homeowners, regardless of Ontario resident, regardless of field type. So there are 7 types of homes that are qualified for the incentive, from single to semi-detached homes to townhouses to mobile homes on permanent foundation, all the way to low-rise multi-unit resident buildings. For rebates for up to $10,600, those are additional rebates from Enbridge Gas available for Enbridge Gas customers. And this includes rebates to homeowners who do not occupy their homes, like landlords, and it's for tenants. For rebates up to the $5,600, that's primary residents. So owners who are non-Enbridge gas customers, off-grid communities that are not connected to the grid, and owners occupied in low-rise and mixed-use properties. So for houses that do not qualify, those are renters who are not Enbridge gas customers, multi-unit resident buildings that are more than 3 stories, newer homes that are built in less than 6 months ago, and then mixed-use buildings that are less than 50% of residential. So if you're not sure, HERPlus has a screening questionnaire that can help you figure out if your home is qualified, and I will post it in the chat for everyone. And I will pass it over to Kyle to talk about the transition of existing clients. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. And so, yeah, a lot of you might be wondering if you're already enrolled in an old incentive program, if you're eligible to transition into the HER Plus program. One of the main, I guess, barriers to note is specific to the Greener Homes loan. The Canada Greener Homes offered a $40,000 zero interest loan, 10-year term. And if you applied and were approved for that loan, you do need to complete the process through Greener Homes, including the Greener Homes grant, which is capped at the $5,600, instead of transitioning to the Home Efficiency Rebate Plus program. If you are looking to transition to the new program and have a pending application to the Greener Homes loan, you could potentially ask to cancel that application and reapply at their new website. If you do so, you could be eligible to transition into the new HER Plus program. But assuming that you haven't applied for that loan and you've only applied for the federal Greener Homes grant or the provincial Home Efficiency Rebate program, you can be eligible for transitioning to the Home Efficiency Rebate Plus program at the time of your post-retrofit energy evaluation. So importantly, you don't need to do anything right now if you're looking to switch over to the new program. That's something that can be handled by your energy advisor and service organization once you've completed your upgrades and are looking to have that final energy evaluation. They can help you through that process and figuring out both what incentive programs to enroll to and potentially switching over to a new incentive program. Also to note, if you do have a older EnerGuide file, as a general rule, anything done before April 2020, it might be a bit more difficult to transition that into the other program. But again, that's something that I would talk with your energy advisor and service organization at the time of the post-retrofit evaluation. Just moving into the incentives now. I'll just start with a little bit on insulation. So insulation is a great starting point for upgrading your home's energy efficiency. The idea of insulation is that it keeps heat from traveling between the inside and the outside of the home. Intuitively, that really helps for keeping warm air in during the winter, but a lot of people don't also think about insulation in terms of the summer because it helps to keep that cold air in during the hot summer months. So the first insulation here is attic insulation. They offer up to $2,350 for increasing the attic insulation. Just a little bit of terminology here. Where it says R25 or R30, that refers to R values, which is the insulating value of the insulation that you have. The greater the number, the more it basically resists the heat transfer and is a better insulator. And it does scale. So R25, if you move up to R50, that is twice the amount of insulation or insulating property that you have there. So for attic insulation, you need to move from under R25 up to at least R50. And if you have a cathedral or a flat roof, by moving from under R25 to at least R28, you can get $800 for upgrading there. Wall insulation is the biggest single incentive that the Home Efficiency Rebate Program has. It offers up to $6,750 for adding our 7.5 or greater to above ground walls. So the maximum incentive is actually adding our 20 to 100% of the building, but you can get lesser incentives if you add less R value or do less total percent of the exterior wall area. They also have an incentive for foundation, so up to $2,000 for adding R10 or greater to basement and crawl space walls. They also have an incentive for the crawl space ceiling, $1,050 if you're adding R24 or greater. There's also some smaller incentives for exposed floors, basement slabs, and basement headers. If you are looking for the full details on all of this, that screening link that Lisa posted also has the link to a lot more specific details that I won't be able to cover just in this webinar. But if you do have any questions, absolutely feel free to reach out and I can help to clarify any of those. Just moving along to air sealing. And windows. So for windows, a lot of people upgrade for aesthetic reasons, but it does also play a really important role in energy efficiency. As you can imagine, it's much harder to stop heat loss through a thin window than a wall. So if you are looking to upgrade your windows, it's really important to consider upgrading to some of the most efficient models, which are usually triple paned. The HER Plus program does have an incentive. The maximum is $325 for replacing windows or sliding glass doors with ones that have an Energy Star rating of 40 and above. That does go down slightly to $175 for windows and glass doors with an Energy Star rating of 34 to 39. Likewise, also for hinge doors, that's an eligible incentive where you can get $175 for replacing them with models with an energy rating of 34 and above. And lastly on this list is air sealing. As Moses mentioned, this can be a great way to improve your home and can be quite inexpensive depending on the work that you're doing. Could include caulking around windows, weather stripping doors, sealing around light fixtures or electrical outlets. There's a ton of ways to reduce your air infiltration, and your energy advisor will help to point some of these out for you. At the time of the evaluation, they'll also give you a target to reduce your air leakage by. If you're able to reach that target, you can get $725, and you get more if you're able to be an overachiever and get more than what was put on that report. So $1,050 for 10% above, and $1,300 for 20% above. So it is a really great incentive. This one can just be sometimes a little bit difficult to know exactly what you're going to get, just because this is based on the air leakage test from the energy advisor at the time of the pre and the post retrofit energy evaluations. But your advisor will let you know if you're able to meet or supersede these targets. And then just moving on to some electrification options. Air source heat pumps are a great technology, and they're extremely efficient for heating and cooling a home. That's also important to note. Instead of a furnace, which just heats the home, these also double as an air conditioner. So they're able to do both, and they do it quite effectively. Furnaces can only operate at close to 100% efficiency, but with heat pumps using the external air, they can be up to 300% efficient. So they're very efficient, and obviously they're much less greenhouse gas intensive because they're using electricity rather than a fossil fuel source. So for a cold climate air source heat pump, that's the second biggest incentive they have, and it's $6,500 for installing one of those. You do get a slightly lesser incentive for a non-cold climate model, which is $5,250. Cold climate models can usually heat to around -30, whereas other Energy Star models are around -10 or so. Additionally, there is a $3,250 incentive for installing or replacing either cold climate or non-air source heat pump that is not intended to service the entire home, so just a section of the home rather than the entire heated area. Additionally, they have incentives for geothermal heat pumps. So geothermal heat pumps work by tubing below the frost line, and that's where temperatures are a bit more moderate all year round. So you can get efficiencies up to 500% just because it's a more moderate temperature. So during the winter, it's a little bit warmer down there than average, and during the summer, it's a little bit cooler. They can be more expensive to install, though, is the trade-off there. The incentive is $6,500 for installing a full system. And if you're just looking to replace the heat pump itself, you can get $4,000 for those. Additionally, they have incentives for hot water heat pumps of $1,300. So just like you can heat the air with a heat pump, you can also heat your hot water with an electric unit, and that's eligible there. And lastly, there's also solar panels, which are a great way for generating some clean energy for your home. And it provides $1,000 per kilowatt that's installed. And then lastly here are just some additional incentives. As Lisa mentioned, you do have to do one additional upgrade in order to qualify for any of these. But if you do have a manual thermostat and are looking to upgrade, there are some incentives there. Programmable thermostats are great because they can reduce the temperature or increase it at certain times of the day or certain days of the week. Smart thermostats can also automatically learn your habits and sync with phones and other devices, so you can turn them up and down on the go. Great little gadgets just for reducing your energy use. They also have incentives for some resiliency measures. So $1,000 for batteries connected to photovoltaic systems, $875 for foundation waterproofing, $600 for moisture proofing 100% of the crawl space, and $150 for roofing membranes. So those are all of the main incentives. The other just one to note is that there is $600 provided towards the cost of the energy evaluations that'll be completed as part of the incentive process. Energy evaluations offer a lot of value over just qualifying for the incentives. So I'll pass it over to Moses to talk more about that.
Great, thank you, Kyle. We just have a quick question here in the chat. And please, Lisa and Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the air source heat pump incentives, if you're getting a hybrid air source heat pump, I believe you would qualify for the $3,250 incentive versus the full incentives, the 6,500 or 5,250. Is that correct?
It really depends if the heat pump is just heating the entire area or not. So the greater incentives, oftentimes you will still have a backup heating system, which could be electric baseboard, but it also might be a gas furnace if it's for heating below that threshold that the heat pump actually provides. So if it's sourced for the entire home and it's one of the eligible models, you can get one of the greater incentives. But yeah, if you're not looking to actually surface it for the entire house, then that's when it would get the lesser incentive there.
Awesome, thank you for that. I hope that answers your question, Patricia. Please follow up if you need clarification there. And then from Hadia, the incentives are for existing homes. It is not for new houses that are being built. It's just for houses that are 6 months or older. And then I have a question here from Meredith, just to confirm, does a hybrid air source heat pump qualify for the rebate?
Yeah, and just to maybe add on, there are only certain heat pumps that can be matched with furnaces. So on the website, you can find resources to eligible models and matching furnaces. So it sometimes depends. If you have an older furnace, then it might not be eligible for installing a hybrid system. You may need to upgrade the heating system to something else. It would be to, I guess, just check the eligibility on the models that you're looking to upgrade. And that's also something that your energy advisor could help you through.
Right, that makes sense. And then we have another question here from Jim. So one issue that he's heard from others is the delays in getting someone to do the pre-upgrade audit or your initial assessment. What is the normal time to get one completed? I'll start with Green Ventures capacity right now. We are currently working with a month or two of lead time for initial audits. We're just sort of rounding the corner of training our new fleet of advisors to be able to meet the capacity that we're at. So that's sort of what we're dealing with now. And, you know, as you really do need one of these audits to qualify for the rebate program, I would, you know, unfortunately recommend to seek another service organization that services your area if you are really tight for time. But I'll let Kyle and Lisa answer that question as well.
For us, our lead time in Waterloo region is roughly 1 week or 2 weeks out. So depending on your location, we're more than happy to help or direct you to another local service organization.
Yeah, we're also booking about a week or two out. If there are any urgent cases, though, I would contact us anyways. We might have some last minute cancellations or somewhere that we can fit someone in.
I echo that too.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks, both of you. And so we have a question here from Hart. What is the total rebate available for window replacements?
The Windows itself doesn't have a cap, so it's the 325 or 175, I believe, based on the window that you're upgrading. If you upgraded enough, you could technically max that out at 10,000. It's based on each individual opening for the windows that you're replacing.
And if you're a non-Enbridge gas customer, it's up to 5,000.
Right. Awesome. And then a question here from Steve. For windows, is the rebate available for replacement of just glass thermal unit rather than complete window frame?
Yeah, it does need to be a full replacement to qualify for the window grant. If you were looking to replace the frame or get an insert or something like that, that could be working towards your air sealing target, but it wouldn't be eligible for the window incentive.
Awesome. And then a question here from Liz. Her Elios air source heat pump isn't on the federal government's list of eligible models. Is the new program using the same list?
Yeah, right now they are using the same list.
Great. And a question here from Kristen. Do these incentives count for a new addition to an existing home?
It will only work for the existing portion of the home. So if you're, say, upgrading all of your exterior walls and adding an addition, it'll count for the percentage of existing walls, but not anything new. So if you are looking to create an addition and adding insulation or windows or things to that added space, then none of that would be eligible for the incentive.
Awesome. And then a question here from Allison. I already had an initial assessment done. Is there a maximum time limit between the initial assessment, the retrofits, and the follow-up assessment? So right now the program does have funding until 2027. So what I've been telling clients is to get your retrofits and your follow-up scheduled before then. And then a question here from Carolyn. We had an energy assessment in 2008. I assume we would need to have a new one if we were interested in a heat pump. I would say yes. Yeah, the technology for the evaluations themselves, the blower door test that we'll talk about here, have changed and have become more technical and rigorous. So you would need a new assessment. And then finally here from Byron, can you give any background on the difference between Enbridge and non-Enbridge customers? Where does the extra money come from?
Well, the 5,000 is for the federal, and then the top up of the 10,000 is funded by Enbridge gas for Enbridge customers.
And just to clarify on that, because it has changed a little bit, you don't need to have Enbridge heating specifically for the home. Any type of Enbridge customers can count. So if you had a pool that was heated with natural gas, but you're on electricity, that could still be eligible for the full 10,000. It's just about being an Enbridge gas customer for that 5,000 top up.
That's good to know too. Thanks.
Great. So another question here from Jean. I used the rebate program in 2018. Am I eligible for this program for additional improvements like a heat pump? I'm assuming that is. I would assume if you completed your follow-up assessment, then you'd have to just restart the program and do an initial assessment if you wanted to get a heat pump. And please correct me if I'm wrong there, Lisa or Kyle.
Yeah, you would have to apply and do an initial assessment because the program started in 2021. So,
Awesome. Okay, so we can chat a little bit about what energy evaluations are, and we'll keep monitoring the chat here for questions. And I'll quickly go over this. If you have any questions, just type them in the chat and let me know. So in order to participate in the HER Plus program, your initial step is to schedule an energy assessment with a registered energy advisor. And these are really obviously used to identify how your home uses energy and creates that roadmap for you to follow with recommended upgrades, with prioritized recommended upgrades in order to get your home to another efficiency level. So it is a home assessment from basement to attic, starting with an exterior envelope data collection method, then moving into an moving to the interior, measuring window efficiency with a low E detector, all insulation levels, mechanical and ventilation equipment as well. This will give you your home an EnerGuide rating, as well as that EnerGuide energy efficiency report with those recommendations to make your house more efficient. Through the programs we work with, you have to do one before and of course after your improvements to qualify for the rebate. And just a reminder that there can't be any ongoing renovations at the time of your initial assessment. And these reports also show how your home compares to a home similar to yours. And just for a little bit of background, there have been over 1 million Canadians that have received energy audits. And I always like to say this, that given that 75% of existing homes will still be standing by 2050, and considering these energy targets that we have, all these homes will have to be retrofitted to maximize energy efficiency. So chances are that you today are living in one of these homes. So you really do matter to our energy future and your city energy's future. And then throughout the home energy assessment, we do a blower door test, or your registered energy advisor will do a blower door test. And this is a mechanical system that consists of a metal frame with a temporary cover that the auditor will place over the front door. It then uses a motorized fan with an air pressure gauge attached to a computer system. It depressurizes the home. It'll essentially suck in air from the outside slightly with a big fan, and the system will measure the amount of air leakage that is going into the home. And then the software translates the total number of cracks in the building into one size hole for you and the advisor to sort of wrap your head around. And this software was developed by Natural Resources Canada. It is recognized nationally, and it really helps understand how air leaks in and out of the building. And throughout the test, the registered energy advisor will do a walk around with you and pinpoint areas where the air leakages are currently happening. So that was all we had planned to share with you today. This is our thank you for attending here. Really appreciate you taking the last 45 minutes or so to understand these programs in your journey to energy efficiency. Here are our service areas, Green Venture, Windfall, and Reep. And our websites are on there. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly through our contact information on our websites or our emails as well. And then we can have a portion for Q&A. I do see, and thank you, Lisa, for putting our links there in the chat. Did I miss any questions here at all in the chat?
I think there was just one from Trudy. Are there any incentives or rebates to change over on-demand hot water systems? Heating a water tank all day seems so expensive and inefficient. Yeah, I definitely agree. Having on-demand hot water systems are great. Right now, the only incentive is for hot water heat pumps, which are very efficient. I would have to look into if there are tankless or tank models specific to those. Moses or Lisa, do you know?
We currently have an incentive with Kitchener Utility, depending if you're in Niagara. So we may have to look into that. Yeah, and we're happy to further explore that. But Kitchener Utility has a tankless heater rebate program.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we'll need to follow up on that one. All right, well, thanks everyone again for attending. I don't see any more questions in the chat. You can feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question. And again, this presentation will be shared with you via email. The recording will also be available on our YouTube channel at Green Venture. And there will be a short survey to complete. It'll be about 2 or 3 questions regarding the presentation today. Really helps us with feedback and to improve our future live learning sessions. So please feel free to fill that out. Otherwise, yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
there was a question about training. There was a training session February 6th. If you are interested or looking to become a registered energy advisor, please reach out to one of us and we can get in contact with you. And then Krista, you have a question.
And sorry,
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that training. It is happening in Hamilton. It is a full week in class, and then we have a probationary file training in the field with a mentor that is paid. So yeah, thank you, Lisa, for bringing that up. If you have any more inquiries, please reach out.
Over to you, Krista.
Thanks so much. I live in an old home, a century home. It's over probably 120 years old, and I've upgraded some things as much as I can. Like I don't have original windows anymore, things like that. Is there like a lot of room for like I kind of feel like it's just one big air gap. You know, it's an old house. I don't have insulation in the double brick, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of limitations with how old the house is. Have energy advisors found that there's lots of room for improvement without massive amounts of, you know, like I don't have $40,000 to put in?
Yes, I can jump in here. Older homes definitely do have a lot of room for improvement. They really have the most room for improvement because they usually have such few, like they have very little insulation. So if you noticed for the incentives, you actually get more incentives for the less insulation you have, and things like the attic, for instance. So if you have a very uninsulated home, you do get larger rebates for that, and it does really make a difference. Obviously, yeah, like things like double brick and complexities with that are really good to work out with your energy advisor. They would take a look and really see what can be done in the home and give some recommendations. I would say older homes, we really have the most recommendations for. If you're doing a newer home, there's often less room for improvement. So I'd say, if anything, there's more things you'd be able to do for a century-old home.
Thanks. It's almost terrifying to think about.
And your energy advisor will help you within your budget too. If they know that you're not willing to spend over $40,000, then they'll give you recommendations on on upgrades that have your making your home most energy efficient based on your budget. Okay, next question,
Yeah.
Brian.
So can you point us towards the list of approved equipment, the list of, I'm particularly interested in heat pumps. And do you have any opinions on the completeness of that list? Is that sort of, you know, here's the list that 95% of Canadians buy anyway? Or is it a fairly expansive list that would allow for more niche situations or more adventuresome installations?
I'll just find the list for you here. It's on the, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Is that the NRCan eligible list of retrofit? I can send you the link. It's a pretty intensive list. Manufacturers have to go through approval through Natural Resource Canada, so submitting their specs and making sure they're eligible to be on there. And if there are new or latest equipments out there, then there's manufacturers can reach out to Natural Resource Canada to be on their approved list. The best is to extract it in the Excel sheet. I find like that's an easier way to go through the eligible list of products. Did Kyle or Moses wanted to jump in?
Just that the product list does get continually upgraded as well. So if it's not on the list, it may be added in a month or so. It's been continually growing. It was very limited. It's starting to add more. Still definitely doesn't have everything.
Okay, thank you.
I suspect the fact that these people are here, there are a lot of people like me that have done an audit previously, done upgrades, and are looking at what's available now. So my question's going to be, well, first of all, I had an audit done by Reep before. It all worked out really well for me. So thank you, Reep, for doing that. But I found some of the things, the incentives were way better than others. For instance, attic insulation, they almost paid the whole cost. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Furnace and air conditioner, it was pretty good, but not as good. In the current program, do you have any advice on when you look at the incentives now versus the cost of those incentives? What are the kind of like, I'm going to almost call them the no-brainer ones that people should give serious consideration to?
I would just really promote air source heat pumps. I think getting a good cold climate air source heat pump is something that is really valuable, especially when you think of the cost of needing to already replace a natural gas furnace or replacing an air conditioner. It can be done at the time of needing to do that, and the prices are coming down. They used to be around 20,000 and they're continually getting lower. So it's really something that would be great to look into, especially if you need to upgrade like a furnace anyways, which is going to be more than a few thousand to upgrade. Attic insulation is probably the other one that comes to mind. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I would say that by looking at your report and looking at those prioritized recommendations, you'll be able to really see which ones will have the most impact for your home specifically. And this kind of aligns with another question here in the chat from Sam. They asked, do you have to follow the recommendation in terms of what to prioritize to qualify? Can you choose to proceed only with a lower recommended option? And I would say yes, but you should be careful. For example, if you just chose to do an air sealing measure, which is really the most affordable thing to do, when your follow-up audit comes around and you don't hit that efficiency measure that you were meant to hit through air sealing, you won't get any of those rebates. So always keeping that in mind will be important. And I hope that answered your question as well, Jim.
Yeah, that's good. Just the one comment about the furnace aspect is I unfortunately did upgrade my furnace. I upgraded it to a really good furnace. It's probably good for another 10 years. But that's not the kind of furnace that we would be going to now. And, going to a heat pump, I'd be abandoning a pretty decent furnace kind of thing, right? Because I didn't upgrade to current standards, which sometimes I guess you move too quickly. But anyways, that helpful. And I think seeing that report would be of much help.
And Jim, you went through us, so feel free to reach out to us and the advisor and we can help you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just to read a couple other ones from chat. Patricia Lewis asked for air sealing improvements, if those are addressed directly by the homeowner, as in a DIY project, are they still eligible for rebates, or do you have to provide receipts and invoices from the provider? My understanding is that it can be DIY, but we are still waiting for a lot of specific details from the HER Plus program as it's moved from the Greener Homes grant. So I can't confirm that right now. Hopefully they'll be coming out with some more information, and I'd be happy to shoot you an email once I know for sure.
And also,
loan.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I was just going to add that for stuff that you're doing DIY, the labor cost won't be associated with the grants and you can't get rebates for that, versus if you do hire one, you are able to use rebate money for those.
And then there was just a question about the loan. The loan program is still available. It's just through a separate application. I added the link, so if And if a homeowner has already applied for the loan from the NRCan grant portal, they must continue to access their loan through that portal.
Yes, and I believe that is just if you applied and were approved in 2022. If you were applied and approved in 2023, you do have access to the HER Plus program.
Elizabeth has, you mentioned attic installation grant. If less than R25, what if you're at R30 or R40?
So yeah, if you're at R30 or 40, just looking at the incentives here. So yeah, it does say that it does need to be at least R25. So if it is over that, there isn't a specific incentive for it. So if you already have a decent amount of insulation, I guess it's not something that's eligible for the grant.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Jim has a good question. So pre-upgrade assessment cost is about 600. It ranges based on other service organization, but roughly that the 600 that you will be receiving back as a rebate from the program is pre and post assessment. You will have to kind of shop around to see what kind of costs every service organization is offering.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, that the entire program is paid everything by the customer out of pocket. So yes, you will have to pay, the initial cost for the assessment. You have to source the contractors, do the work, follow up assessment, pay for that. And then 600 alone for audit costs will be reimbursed, plus the additional up to 10,000 or 5,000, depending what you do for your renovations.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yes, so if you do want to get in touch, I will type in my email here. We also all have intake forms on our organization's websites where you can sort of ask any questions or give us your project details. But we can be reached at our emails here. Lisa and Kyle, you have to type it in.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Awesome. So it looks like we are at time here. If anybody has any questions, our emails are there. We also can pick up the phone and chat with you over the phone as well. So thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
And Moses, I see there's just a couple other things in the chat, so people
Sure.
can drop off, but I might stay a little while longer just to make sure people's questions are answered. Great. So yeah, Dee Dee just asked if they purchased energy efficient windows 20 years ago and they still seem to be working fine, should they still be reasonably efficient? And they could be. It really depends on the model of window that was put in at the time. If you're not noticing any considerable heat loss from them or air leakage from them, then they may be okay. I would say that's really a question for an energy advisor if you are concerned about it. They would be looking at the windows, see exactly how efficient they are, testing for air leakage in the home, and give you a better idea of if it's worthwhile to replace for the savings you'd be getting back. And is there still a government loan available to complete major renos? There is. It basically just switched from the Greener Homes portal to a different website. So I can add that website in the chat, but it is a great resource if you're looking for ways to better finance your renovations. It's $40,000, interest-free 10-year term, which is really useful. One of the major, I guess, disadvantages is that you can only get 15% of that upfront, and you get the remaining 85% once you've actually finished the renovations, which is, I guess, the main limitation, but it is still available, and I'll paste the link for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle.
Great. And then, what were you thinking, Moses? I can stick around to answer questions, or we can take them all back and send out emails.
Sure.
What would be best?
How many questions are left in the chat?
I just see one, and then, I think we're pretty good now. I thought there was one a little ways back.
I believe we answered all of them.
Oh yeah, no, I guess that's the last one, and then we got the others. I guess the one final one is any inert gas in a window will have leaked out in 20 years. Oh, that is just a comment. Yeah, I guess we got it all.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, have a good evening. Again, we'll be sending this presentation out, and please feel free to email or call with any other questions regarding the program, energy efficiency, or about our organizations in general. We're happy to chat.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.